Hey everybody, Lawrence here with 30 Basic 20 coming at you with another one. Okay, now a lot of times in games and movies and entertainment stuff, you'll see like demon possession or stuff just goes flat or someone just goes flat out evil due to like, influencers or whatnot. That got me thinking is like I've seen it a couple times before. It's like, what if the land itself gets possessed? It can I was just thinking, it's like, that would be kind of cool. So, here's my interpretation of a possessed hills. I just kind of went a little nuts with tentacles and stuff, like eel, pustules, spiders, all the things. But this is my answer to what if the land itself gets possessed. So, but before we actually get to it, how I got to that. I want to give a big shout out to my patrons. Every month, you guys' help is greatly appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. All right, let's get to it. Here I got a rather large size chunk, and I just want to kind of trace out a pattern for the base, and just use my Olfa knife here and cut away the excess chunks, and just so I get the nice, like, kind of oval kind of shape. And then for the two spires, I have progressively smaller pieces, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just kind of rounding off, cutting off the edges and corners, just getting like a nice sort of round shape to it, because that's what I want. So, But now this is pretty simple. No hot wire needed, at least not for this part. But just slightly cut them. Now I am going to run these pieces through the hot wire. But this piece is too big, so I got to cut it in half quick. It's not that bad. And I'm just slicing them in half so I can have two layers out of the one. I'm going to do that with everything, including the pieces for this, like, little peaks or spiders or whatever you want to call them. But just cut everything in half, and that'll give me more. I'll be able to get more of a layered look. At least that's what I'm telling myself, Yeah. But as you can see, even the smaller pieces are getting cut, and I'll have more pieces. And again, since I cut it in half, I got to glue these two pieces back together, which is quick and easy. Some simple hot glue. And we use the black because it shows up on camera. Boom. And now I got a solid piece again. Not that difficult. Now I actually want to start stacking these, but I want to offset them a bit just so I can have that, offset layered look I'm going for. And just a whole bunch of hot glue. Boom, done. Now I got the base together. And of course, I got to do that for this too. So I used the marker and just traced roughly where the piece is going to go on top of it. That way I don't spew hot glue all over the place. And I just don't want that. So, and calmly stack them up. As you can see, I'm offsetting them. And now I got this cool little weird pattern look. Have a fan going when you do this. If you do it this way, I'm just using a flame just to melt down the hard edges and just round it off. You can use sandpaper to accomplish this, but this is just quicker, faster, and easier. Of course, now it's time to actually attach them to the base itself. Could have used hot glue, but oh hey, I got some of this PVA here. Yeah, I'll just use that. It was wood glue. Yeah, wood glue. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, wood glue. Actually, it is wood glue. But just kind of glue it on. One of the reasons I'm using the wood glue to actually attach the spires so I can make minor adjustments at the very end. Of course, peanut butter time, peanut butter time, peanut butter time. This is my homemade texture paste. And I am just going to cover the whole thing with it. And then I'll take a stiffer bristle brush, dip it in water, and just kind of drag texture lines into it afterwards. It's a method I've taught myself or learned, and I'm really liking how it just gives a little bit more layer and detail. Of course, now I'm going to actually start gluing on some ping pong balls that I cut in half. And yes, I sliced my thumb open cutting these little suckers in half. I got a new scar. Thank you, crafting. But I actually got the idea for the ping pong balls from the things from the basement build, the bakery, because it uses a ping pong ball. I was like, oh my god, I can use this. Why not? So I bought, next time I saw was in the store and I saw some ping pong balls, I bought some. And I was like, I cut up, specifically because I was like, I need to use these somehow. But, and I do pull that one off and push the in and out and re-glue it. Of course, the ping pong balls themselves were just a little too plain, so I just kind of wanted to have like these little veins or tendrils kind of working up the sides there, just to give it a little more factor and growth it out a little bit. It looked cool, so I figured, why not? I wanted the area immediately around all the ping pong balls to have a different look to it, rather than like the ground texture, and I didn't want it to be perfectly smooth. So sculpt a mold. It has a cool, it leaves a neat texture, and if I don't mess with it too much, it's gonna look good. So mix some sculpt mold with water to the consistency of cottage cheese, and just kind of use this little coffee stir size stick and smear it in wherever I want. I'll just kind of work it a little bit into the actual terrain, just so it looks like it kind of grew up from the ground almost, but it's not part of the ground. In my head, weird thoughts were going, so I wanted immediately around the balls to be different and be just different. Tentacles, 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 lots and lots of tentacles. These are a bunch of tentacles I got from the Dollar Tree a long time ago, the Final Fashion packs. Unfortunately, you can't get them anymore, but I bought a lot of them because I knew I'd be using them. But I want to get these prepped for actually going into the terrain. And rather than just gluing them straight to the surface, I'm going to pin them down. So that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Drill a hole in, stick a piece of a paper clip in, glue it in place, glue the paper clip into the tentacle, and they're pinned. So, not a very difficult process. Annoying, yes, but it works. And a little spot of super glue gel, and then just push it right in, because that paper clip's going right through the texture paste and into the foam. So, not a whole lot of forethought as far as actually getting it in there. Now that everything's together, let's primer a sucker. Again, I use the airbrush. You can use a rattle can or other methods, but gonna base coat this baby black, just all over. It works, so why not, Now, normally I would just start painting now, but I'm going to be using some speed paints on this, so I want to do a zenithal highlight, because these like mounds or pustules or whatever you want to call them, and the tentacles, I was like, speed paint. Going to use speed paint. So I'm going to zenithal highlight this with a light gray. You do that at an angle, it leaves shadows and whatnot in the darkest recesses, and this works because it's a slap chop job, and I don't get it. I don't understand how or why, but it works. So, zenithal highlighting, speed paint, slap chop, just don't question the process. If it works, it works. And of course, the final zenithal highlight, I'm going at a high angle and just like really hitting the spots where I want to be brighter. Like if the sun is coming directly down, or whatever angle you want the sun to come at, just hit it with the white, and it makes the spots that are supposed to be bright even brighter, and save you a lot of effort if you're doing slap chop painting. I could have normally, if I'm doing miniatures, I'll just dry brush the white on, but And of course, I had assembled a bunch of skeletons and Zenithal highlighted them too. And so I'm just using Skeleton Horde from Games Workshop and slap them on because by the time it's all said and done, you won't be able to really see these skeletons unless you know they're there. And of course, spiders. Who doesn't like spiders? I did that with them. I'd like to paint the legs greasy black. I'll paint the bodies a different color. And these are just cheap The little spiders are some cheap spider confetti I got at Walmart 2 years ago. And the bigger spiders, cheap Halloween stuff. It's almost Halloween now. Go get some. And then, of course, I'm going to paint the bodies a different color. I'd like to do different colors like that just to make them stand out a little bit better. I don't know. It's my personal preference, so that's what I'm going to do. Of course, I'm using a gray and brown mixture because I'm not going with my standard dark brown. And I want this to almost look like the very life is being sucked out of the hills. Like this possession is just draining the very life out. So I'm going with the gray and brown mixtures. Here I'm using my midtones of a gray brown, a midtone brown and a midtone gray, and mixing them together and doing an overbrush. Like I said, I just want to have it look like the very life is kind of being sucked out of this terrain. And that's what this possession is doing to the terrain. So make it look old. And of course, the sculptor mold that I put around, I wanted to have a fleshy look to it, so I went with a tan flesh or whatever it was, and just make it look like flesh and not dirt, but kind of look like the dirt, but flesh. I don't know why I had to do yellow. I had to do yellow for the actual mounds or pustules, just to make it look like it's pus almost. Like it's an infection. So what color is pus? Pus is kind of like a gross yellow. And this looked like a gross yellow, so going for it. And then in these little like veins or tendrils or whatever that are going up the sides, red. Look like it's red, just kind of like it's sucking the very, almost like blood, like sucking the very life out of everything. I mean, it sounds good, but no, I just look like actual full veins, blood. This is like a body horror build. Come on. So it's just, I want it gross. So this works. And of course, after I get all the little veins that are coming up painted, I'm going to go around the edges where the ping pong ball meets the texture paste and put a little line in just to make look like it's irritated and kind of nasty looking there at the bottom too. So again, red, yellow, they're both warm colors. I don't know. I'm not a color wheel expert. I don't have mine sitting out. So I just thought it looked cool and it was gross. So that's what I'm going to do. And of course, the tentacles. Oh, come on. I had to go with red. Because, I typically do with green tentacles. And I was like, I've done green before. And someone suggested another color. And I was like, no. I won't do that color. If you want to know a color, go to my Discord. But red tentacles, I just thought they were cool. It looks kind of demon, the red demon color. I just figured, why not? I already have some red in the ping pong ball, so done. And of course, these tentacles have like little spikes or horns or whatnot. So it was like, I just got an off-white color and just quickly hit each and every last one of them with the white. And there were a lot of them. Oh man, there are a lot. But boom, it looks cool. And now that I got all that work, I'm just using a light gray, light brown mixture. I'm going to just dry brush all the highlights and just make all the details pop a little bit more and make it look pretty. Yeah, right. I got a bunch of pustules with tentacles and I'm making it look pretty. Yep, that works. course, I want to get put some shadows into the crevices and cracks, so I'm using a dark brown pigment powder just to add some shadows. And anywhere that I think it's needed or it will look good. Because, yeah, I want to differentiate between each little level there, so. It's a homemade pigment powder off scraped soft pastel chalk. Easy peasy. And cheap. And of course, to lock it in place so it doesn't get rubbed off, I'm just misting it with some isopropyl alcohol. This will lighten it up, but yeah. Now, after the tentacles were all dry, they had a dull appearance, and I was like, no, I can't do dull. They got to be shiny. So I grabbed some gloss Mod Podge and just slapped it all over all the tentacles. And it gives them a shine, kind of like, and gives it a slimy, living look. I guess, I don't know, but in my head, I was like, yeah, these got to be shiny. Of course, flocking. I know these are supposed to look dead, but I needed a little bit of like dead looking grass, so I'm just sprinkling on earth, burnt grass, and yellow for a highlight. And oh man, I don't know why I've never used this stuff before, but ooh, you can actually string like slime trail, just little different like bits of slime and stuff all over. This stuff stinks. I mean, it stinks. But I can like have bits of slime going from one part to another. This is actually a good. I've seen people use it for like in jaws and mouths, but I thought, you know what, a bunch of slime going from parts of the tentacles, awesome. And of course, I got to glue the spiders on. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit record when I put all the skeletons and the webs over the skeletons, so I'm sorry about that. But you've seen me put webs on before, so. But just glue the spider, a few selected spiders. I wound up painting a lot more than I needed, so I'm saving those for another build. But just glue them on in different places just to give a little bit of visual interest and pop. So it's not just the little pustules. And of course, my favorite tough manufacturer, Huge Miniatures, and I do use other brands, but just grass tufts just to break up the plainness and just give the build a little something extra. I mean, you could skip this if you wanted to, but then the build, it's one of those little details that if you don't add, yeah, it's going to be okay, but this is just a little tiny thing that's like, if you do put it there, it's like, oh, that's cool. You don't even really see it, but if it's not there, you're not going to, yeah, you know what I mean. But again, for a while there, I wasn't completely sure about this, but then, I see the finished build and I'm like, okay, this was cool. I like it. It definitely a almost body horror build. So I was like, yep, okay, this is cool. I like it. Hey everybody, if you watch this far, it means you watch the end. And as always, I can't thank you enough. Yeah, standard YouTube crap, thumbs up, subscribe, whatever. But again, I am really happy with how this turned out. The different pustules, the different painting techniques. And I really, really like how the Uhu turned out. I've never used it before, so I'm relatively pleased with how easy it was to get the effect. So definitely I'm happy with this. But again, guys, whenever you're building your demon-possessed hills, painting your miniatures, whatever you're making, just remember, the only person you got to worry about is you, because it's your terrain.